Hi, everyone. How are you doing? I know it's been a few days. Life gets so busy, doesn't it? I want to talk about sugar today. I have led a pretty sugar-free life for the last many years. At home, we have no real sugar. I do have a bit of maple syrup and honey, but by and large, we use Swerve and Truvia. So my friend Michal was telling me that Truvia is not my best option. I loved the taste, and so I stuck with it over the years. And it turns out that Swerve is non-GMO and made much safer and according to the standards we teach you and recommend. So that's the sweetener to use instead of sugar. So what is the big deal with sugar? Sugar is inflammatory. Sugar is addictive. It is so addictive to the brain. And there's many MRIs and brain scans and different things showing that your brain on sugar can act like a brain on cocaine, and that more parts of the brain light up when you consume sugar. And I think everybody just thinks sugar is sugar, and so that's all it is, right? So I don't add sugar to my coffee anymore. I'll add honey. But honey is sugar. Maple syrup is sugar. And when I first started in this field, even I didn't understand that. I'd have agave nectar and rice syrup and all these things, not realizing that, sure, I got rid of sugar, but I replaced it with exactly sugar. Now, when you're insulin resistant and you consume sugar, it goes into belly fat. It makes you stay stuck with extra fat on your body regardless. A worse thing about sugar is it causes fatty liver. Now, when I say fatty liver, some people don't even know what that means. But fatty liver means the deposition of fat inside the liver, kind of like foie gras, what they do to those poor ducks to get their livers so fatty, and then we eat them, right? Kind of yucky to think about. But fatty liver is an enormous health epidemic right now because it sets you up for heart attacks, diabetes, and all those diseases of chronic diseases of aging that you don't want to get. So fatty liver is not caused by fat, it's caused by sugar. So let's just think on this a little bit. I've just told you that sugar can be your honey, your syrups, your alternatives. What about carbs in general? So all carbohydrates become sugar in your body. And depending on the amount of insulin resistance you have, you may want to have little to no carbs in your diet. And people can do very well adapting to using fat as an energy source. So Michal teaches about fat adaptation. It's part of our metabolic reset program, where we can get you accustomed to using fat as your energy source and not needing any kind of carbohydrates. In fact, that is the only thing that has worked for me to get to a size I'm so happy to be at. So the whole metabolic reset process, one of the steps involves getting rid of all sugars, and then another step, as we're customizing and personalizing for you and your hormones, is getting rid of all carbs and teaching you how to become fat adapted. So that's a bit on the metabolic reset program that Michal and I offer. We've created it and it's doing amazing. So if you want any information on that, just let me know. A bigger deal is the Kick Sugar Summit for now. So for today, I just wanted to share with you that I used to be the person that ate cookies and chocolate cake for breakfast if I could. I loved dessert, and I existed for dessert only. I remember in my 20s going out to restaurants, and the first thing I would do is look at the menu and the dessert menu to boot. So depending on the size of the dessert is how I would pick my main course. And 9 out of 10 times I would have an appetizer and a full-size dessert. And I don't know if you remember the, early 90s when the restaurants had huge, maybe they still do, I don't know because I don't eat them, but they had huge portions for desserts, and then the mountainous cakes and dripping with caramel and cream and oh my gosh, and back then that used to really tantalize my taste buds and trigger me to be drooling, and today that does nothing for me. I can look at those pictures, I can watch people eat them, and it really does nothing for me because my body has come to love being sugar free. And I just wanted to touch on the hidden places that sugar exists. So for most of my patients who go gluten-free and they're eating gluten-free bread, well, that's very high in sugar and carb calories and carb counts. So it's everywhere. And the Kick Sugar Summit is to help you understand where to find sugar, what it does to you, and what are the health risks associated with the consumption of sugar. I mean, the supersizing, I think you all know that there's sugar in pop and stuff like that, but sugar's in fruit, so depending on how much you eat. I have a patient making smoothies every morning with copious amounts of all kinds of high sugar fruits, and she wants to know why she's not losing weight. Well, it's paleo, yeah, but being paleo doesn't mean it's going to help you burn fat, right? So the Kick Sugar Summit is going to be eye-opening for you. There's going to be a ton of speakers giving you free information and free education. The link is attached to this post, so click on it, sign up, and get all of those talks for free. It's going to make a huge difference to how you live your life, because 80 to 90% of your metabolic results and how little or much body fat you have on you has to do with what you put in your mouth. You know, I absolutely want you to exercise. I absolutely want you to move and build muscle. Muscle is important for your metabolic rate. Muscle is important for your physical independence and how you look, if that's important, but how you function, which is more important. So getting rid of sugar, which includes alcohol, matters to your results. And for each person, there's a different level that matters. So, for example, I had wine on the weekend, but I no longer have wine during the week. So these are little steps I've taken, and they've made a huge difference because I have very little fat that bothers me on my body right now, and I'm quite happy with my size. But it takes some learning on what is fat adaptation, learning on what works for me as opposed to what doesn't. It takes some learning how to still live a life that you love without feeling completely deprived. In fact, today on the Metabolic Reset, we're teaching how to reintroduce things, and we're teaching about figuring out your carb needs. So I'm tying in both the Kick Sugar Summit and the Metabolic Reset program because I want you to do both. The first one is completely free. The second one is next to free because you just get all of this information from Michal and I and daily coaching and support. And so just ask me about that. And I'll do another video on the Metabolic Reset later today because we'll send you some snippets from what we're covering live on it today. So thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. And Ariella, thank you for that comment. Harvest Crunch, very high in sugar, yes. Beware of boxed things. Like anything that comes from a box is not good for you, right? Anything that's been processed and man-made is going to be high in sugar. And another thing to be really careful of, all of these low-fat products, right? What are they doing? They take the sugar out and they take the fat out and they insert sugar in it to manage the taste. See, we live in a society where everything has to taste good, look good, be convenient and all that stuff. And, you know, I just really hope that at some point you get it, that food is fuel for your health and you can feed and nourish your body, or you can feed sickness and disease. And that choice is made here. So part of the Metabolic Reset program, for example, and some of what they're talking about on the Kick Sugar Summit is about the brain chemistry that makes you addicted to sugar and what we can do to alter that. And I'm huge into looking at everything. There's no one thing that gives you a solution to all of your health problems. And every time I have a media interview or something like that, people say, well, Dr. Iyer, you know, what is that one thing you want people to know? Well, that one thing I want you to know is that there's no one thing that's going to solve everything for you. You know, just because you kick sugar doesn't mean your hormones don't need balancing. Just because you're working on balancing your hormones doesn't mean we don't have to look at your metabolic triad. Just because we're looking at your metabolic triad doesn't mean we have to ignore your biochemistry and your toxic burden. And you know, everything is connected to everything else. Scroll through some of the other videos I've been making for you, and I hope that putting all that information together takes you one step closer to feeling better than ever. I'm Dr. Natasha Iyer, creator of the Metabolic Reset 101 program. I am on the Kick Sugar Summit, and I've given you a link to join. It's free and it's packed with information, so please click on it and join it. And stay tuned. I'm here to educate you and inspire you and get you to think more about health in a different way. Have a great day.